Welcome to the Beyond the Bucket Show, a podcast centered around optimizing all life's buckets. We all have buckets we are balancing: coaching, entrepreneurial ventures, family, passion projects, and health. Let's all take this journey together and become bucket fillers. And here's your host, Chris McSwain.
Welcome back to another great episode of Beyond the Buckets. We have a fantastic guest on today, a good friend of mine for a long time, and one of the best coaches in the area that you might not even know of, and that is Coach Kevin Mack from Mountain View High School. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? Glad to be here. Excited. Good to catch up with you too.
For sure. Well, we've had a few different technical difficulties to start the program, but nobody knows about that. But as we were just talking about, it doesn't matter when we get it right, as long as we get it right. So, yeah, sometimes you don't even know what to do when you have these technical difficulties, but yeah, glad we got through it.
Right. Definitely.
So I want to have a fun fact for the people that even if they know you, they might not even know.
Sure. You know, fun fact, I just thought of this when we were trying to figure this whole thing out, kind of encompasses you too, is we actually played against each other in high school. Back in the day when I was at Pioneer and you were at Del Mar, we were opponents, and then we were colleagues coaching together in your AE organization. So I don't know if a whole lot of people know that we were opponents in high school.
That was a long time ago. That is a
very long time ago.
And a fun fact that people definitely wouldn't know, but I went to middle school with your now wife.
Yes, that's that. Definitely. Yeah. That's another one. Yeah.
I spent a lot of time, their family was so great. They invited, all the kids over and movie nights and all that type of stuff. So it was really good to meet. And your wife is a twin, so that's really cool.
Right?
So I love your wife and her family. So
thank you. I appreciate it. Small world,
Definitely. So let's get right into it. You mentioned a little bit about your background, but why don't you give like a 3-minute backstory for everybody and kind of how you got to where you got to coaching?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Almaden Valley in San Jose, and I went to Pioneer High School and went on to West Valley and then San Jose State for school. And then right out of high school, I kind of just my senior year, I saw that it was probably going to be the end of my playing career, but I really had the thought of wanting to coach at some point and thought it'd be cool to go back and help out. And so I went back and started coaching at Pioneer right out of high school. Coach Patisevich is still the head coach there, AD, and he asked me to come on and help. And my second year out, he asked me to be the JV head coach. And I was like, wow, I'm 19 years old. What am I getting myself into? These kids are only a couple of years younger than me. But and then it kind of just took off from there. I was there for 7 years and then moved on to Los Gatos, where I helped varsity assistant coach there for a while and took over for a year. And then I helped coach the girls team there. And then I was fortunate enough to get the Mountain View job in 2015, and kind of that's all she wrote. So I've been there. It's my 8th year at Mountain View. So.
Yeah, it flies by.
Yes.
And so when you look back on that 20-year period, or 22 now, right?
22.
What really sticks out to you in that time frame?
I think just what sticks out is from different place to place is the type of kids that you're coaching and the demographic changes. Even being at Mountain View for 8 years, I feel like we've had just a great group of student athletes, and the community is amazing. And I just think being able to give back to the communities that I've been at is something that sticks out to me, and just the relationships that you build with your players and the communities is something that I cherish. And I know we all do it for the love of the game, but we also do it because we want to build relationships with players and have those memories that you'll have forever.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's just like a book as far as coaching. I've been doing it probably around the same amount of time. But it's just like a book and different chapters in that book. And I spent seven seasons at Del Mar as an assistant varsity and head JV. similar to how you did it. You went back to your alma mater. I went kind of right after college and, started helping out. And so that was one chapter. And then you go to Monte Vista in Cupertino, which was another chapter that was only like a year. It was a short chapter. And then you go to another place at Lee. So I was at Lee. So I got to see very different areas, and, you can have success at all those places. If everything, all the right ingredients start to be put together. And then finally, being at Valley Christian, this is year 11 for me at the school, but I never coached girls prior to that. I mean, you coached girls one time as well at Los Gatos High School, and it's just different. The chapters that you find, and I think one of what do you think the biggest difference between coaching male and female athletes is, since you've done both now? And I have an answer for you as well.
Yeah, so I think, the 2 years at Los Gatos where I helped coach the girls team, I think was an amazing opportunity for me. I feel like, and you coached girls for so long, you might have better be able to kind of expand on it. But I feel like the girls really listen and try to do exactly what you want them to do. The guys, maybe not so much at times. It's a different, the speed of the game is obviously a little bit different. The physicality of the game is different when you're comparing the two. But what I loved about coaching the girls for 2 years is you really, in practice, is they're really, they're listening to you. They want to do what you're asking. And I think that's a big difference to me, is the practice part of it, for sure.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend Ryan Cooper. I know you know him too, but he just recently took the women's job at Menlo, and we were talking in my backyard, just the difference, because he's coached men, he's coached women, but the biggest thing that he said was, and I wanted to pull my phone out so I can make sure I got it. When it comes to coaching men versus women, with women, you have to bond to battle. With men, you have to battle to bond. And I just thought that was so well put, because you really have to bond with the female athletes, in my opinion. That is some of the things that we do a whole lot more than when we first started. When I first started, I thought it was all basketball related. And now the longer that I've done it, it's more about the relationships that you build in order for that trust to be put in place. And then once that trust is put in place, they will go out there and battle for you. Whereas guys, you need to bump with each other, and you kind of have to, you guys, battle, then you guys can bond later, because you guys went through some difficult stuff. But I thought that was a good way to put it. And I would agree with a lot of that sentiment.
Yeah, I think that analogy that you said, that Coach Cooper said, was spot on. I think that's spot on when you kind of compare the two genders of the sport. So. Yeah.
And I'm going to give him credit the first time, but after that, I'm taking this quote and running with it.
Definitely.
But that's how I do all the time, because I forget. I write all these things down on my phone. So if I write something, I got to remember to put like a name if it is a name. But sometimes these quotes evolve. So I might think of something and I add to it or whatever, or something that kind of resonates with me, because I try to use these sort of things with the team. Is there anything that you kind of use with your team as well throughout your coaching career?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so I definitely, big thing that I do every practice. Sorry, Coach.
It's all good.
Is I have a quote that I put on our practice plan every day. And I post our practice plan in our gym for the kids to see every day. And I always have a quote, whether it's a quote or it's a statement about how the season's going, our upcoming opponent, whatever it may be. But usually I'll have something, a little snippet every day for the kids, and then we'll talk about that same quote at practice. So that's something that I kind of do on a daily basis with our group.
Yeah, I think that's very, very paramount to running your program, because there is a score of the game, obviously, but there's also a score of the game of life. And I think when you implement those things, whether they be basketball strategies, but mostly basketball strategies and like mindset can also be used in your everyday life. So we definitely use that same thing, whether it be a quote for the week or uh, a video that we play every day. So a quick little videos. There's so many things out there. It could be, I try to get a lot of women. So it could be Dawn Staley. It could be Becky Hammond. It could be, Sabrina Ionescu. Or it could be Tom Brady. It just depends on the day. Or it could be Nick Saban. Just something to kind of motivate them and get them to understand that their mindset is going to help them out, not just in this game of basketball, but also in life. And one of the things that we're now doing is called the game of life. So there's basically, it's going to be a 10-week program, and we're going to have to take time outside of practice and some practice time to do it. But I think most of these kids aren't going to be playing professionally. I know most of them aren't going to be playing even in college, but the experience that they can get because they came to this program, that is something that I want them to last for a long time. So we've started putting together this 10-week curriculum. We're going to teach it to the kids. And like the first week is about teamwork. So each day is going to be a different step on teamwork. And then myself, but then the assistant coaches, they have to lead one of the segments every third week. So that's something that we're kind of doing, just to teach them not just about hoop, because that's going to be a small period of time in their actual life. So is there anything that you guys are doing culture wise to, let your athletes understand that it's more about your culture and family and what you do, rather than what you do just on the court?
Yeah, so we every year we also do usually it's about the second or third week in November. There used to be a heroes run at Cupertino. I think it's like a 5K, 10K race, and our program would go out there and help give back to the community and help in a certain part of the race. There's like an obstacle course that they do for the kids, and so our players will be out there for the whole event, helping the little kids of the parents that are the runners, and they'll be helping them get through the obstacle course, and the kids love it. And it's just a great way for our guys to kind of give back to the community a little bit, and kind of see a bigger picture that it's not just basketball that we're trying to accomplish. We're also trying to help the community learn life lessons and things that they can take with them the rest of their lives. So that's one big thing that we do usually every year.
Yeah. So I want to take you back just real quick. I want you to tell younger coaches or people that are just trying to get in the industry, like it took you 12 years to get your first head job, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk about that grind before, because especially in our society, we live in a society where we kind of want it quick. And I know there's a lot of young coaches that want to get to where we're at now, but it's just a long process. So why don't you speak to how or what that process is actually like compared to just jumping into something because they think it's easy.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I mean, I knew when I first started coaching that I wanted to be a varsity head coach. Didn't know after the first year or two how long it was going to take and the journey was going to take, that it's not easy, and the time and the work that you have to put in. I actually interviewed at 3 or 4 places before I got the Mountain View job, and I think each one I kind of learned something. The first interview I kind of went in and I was just like, I'm just going to answer the questions that this panel is asking me, and I wasn't really prepared. And I figured my way through that after the first couple, to how do you prepare yourself, and how do you go in with the best intentions, and if you really want this, you got to put the work in. And I think understanding the journey, I think, is making me more humble and thankful for where I am and how long I've been at Mountain View, and hopefully I'll be here for a lot longer and able to do this. But yeah, I mean, it was a long time, and a different sorry, coach, I'm having trouble with my phone.
It's all good. More technical difficulties. It's all good.
I know. But yeah, so I think it's just, in the sense of how long it took me to get to where I am, I think it's just made me more humble and thankful for everything that we've accomplished at Mountain View and our staff has been able to do. But yeah, I think each time that I was trying to get a job and I interviewed at a place, I think I learned something from each one of those that helped prepare me for the opportunity to get the job at Mountain View. So, you always say you got to work for everything that you want. And I truly believe that after my journey, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I've got assistants that have aspirations to be head coaches at some point.
Sure.
And so I tell them, you guys got to do head coach things. So everything that I'm doing, you guys have to do that just like you are a head coach, and make sure that you prepare yourself for those opportunities. And the same way for you, like I interviewed for other varsity jobs prior to getting my first varsity job. And I thought I was very qualified for the two that I had interviewed, but luckily I didn't get them because I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Exactly.
I interviewed for the Monte Vista job and I didn't get it, but I humbled myself enough to even work for the guy that did get that, who's still a good friend. He was a great basketball mind, coach at Monte Vista, but he also coaches St. Francis, and he's a really good dude. I learned the triangle because I went and coached at the JV team. And the JV team, we had a great season. We went 19-5 that year in one league, but that was a stepping stone that I needed to be able to get to that next level. And that I knew I wanted to get a varsity job. So I went over to Lee with Pat Judge, who has had a lot of success, and every team that he's had has kind of always been good. You have,
Right.
I think you guys had to play him when he was in your league. Was he in the A League for you guys?
Played quite a few times. Yeah.
So, and how he has all these different defenses, and you have to prepare for that sort of stuff. And it's a little bit different than some traditional stuff, but it really works, and he gets his guys to buy in. So I learned a bunch of different things. I learned, different techniques for working under Manny at Monte Vista. Same thing with Coop and Ostrowski at Del Mar, and same thing with Pat. And Pat was like a player's coach, and players really, he gave his players a lot of freedom, and they really liked that. And so I think that you're just collecting things, just like I collect notes or different things, or plays we see the Warriors run. I'm like, oh, okay, I think we can add that. It's just same
Definitely.
thing. You take what you need and apply it to who you are in your system. And yeah, so you have to make sure that you guys got all this stuff. And I show them like all my Google Docs, and I've got this and this and this and this. Like there's a lot of stuff that actually goes into it. Now that's just us being maniacal, but I think it's necessary if you want to actually have some success in your field. So what are some of the maniacal things that you do that most people would not really understand?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing you talk about Google Docs and notes is, my folders on my computer. I have every single practice plan in a folder since the first day I started on Mountain View. I have every single scouting report that we've had for all 8 years. Everything from a daily basis to a yearly basis to a monthly basis that involved, rosters, et cetera, is all on my computers. And I think that's something, I mean, I'm detailed. I'm very, very detailed person. And so, yeah, I can still go back and look at the first practice that we had in 2015 at Mountain View. So very meticulous when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Got every practice plan I've ever created. So I think that is something that young coaches, or even people that don't know coaching, what that actually looks like, and the preparation that you do put in. How are you able to have so much success at Mountain View when there are a lot of other great public schools in the area, but there's also a lot of private schools in your general area too that are pulling kids that would normally be going to your school, but you seem to keep a lot of these kids in the Mountain View, school, and allow them to kind of flourish even in an area where it's so heavily towards private schools?
Yeah, I think first off is my coaching staff. I mean, I've had a lot of good stability with my coaching staff. We brought some new guys in the last 2 years, but I've had stability with my coaching staff, and they work hard, and they kind of have the same mindset. We gel really well together. So stability, I think, with that is huge. I think having a little bit of success my first couple of years, the fortunate to win CCS my second year, I think kind of put us a little bit on, like you could say, the so-called map in our area, where we don't lose as many kids as maybe to the private schools as we had in the past. But I think just trying to establish a culture at Mount View, not just winning. I mean, winning's great. We all want to win, but are we doing it the right way? And I think just stability within the coaching staff, but it helps when you have talented players too. You have players that want to get better, that want to learn, that put the work in. I think is huge. So we've just been lucky in the sense of we've had some talented players come through, but I think at the same time we've had a stability within our coaching staff that has been huge.
What's been some of your biggest challenges over the years?
I think a challenge is when you're a public school, and are you able to kind of keep the momentum going every year? You're, as a public school, you're going to get the kids you're going to get, and are you able to get the same talent every year? But I think trying to get as much out of your players as you can. I think we've, as a staff, have been fortunate that we've been able to get as much out of our kids as we can most years. But a challenge is you kind of get a different group every year. So you have a philosophy and on the both sides of the ball, what you believe in and what your goals and values are, but are you able to do the same thing? We really I think every position, especially at our level, you have to kind of change within what your team is. So are we able to do the same thing every year offensively? Probably not. We have to change that up a little bit. So I think a challenge is, what do we have to do with this group this year? What do we do with that group last year? It might not be the same. So being open-minded to different types of systems, I think, is huge.
For sure. And what are the benefits that you've utilized to your benefit with keeping some of the better players in the district?
Yeah, I think the benefit is, like, right now we have, my starting point guard and my starting four are both juniors that have been up since their freshman year, and they're still here. And I think that's huge. It's benefits of getting some of those kids that maybe years past would have gone to a St. Francis or a Valley Christian or a Midi or somewhere else, which was completely understandable. And I think being able to keep some of those kids here has kept our program kind of in the right direction and competitive in the league that we're in.
Yeah. And what's the outlook for this season? As we're taping this, we start official practice tomorrow. So what is the outlook for this coming season as you start to prepare for the games ahead, but, getting through the tryouts and all that? What's going to be the process?
Yeah, I'm excited for this year for our guys. I mean, we had a pretty good year last year. I don't think we were really young last year, and I don't know if anyone really thought we were going to, other than us inside those gym doors, thought we could get to where we did and have a chance at the end of the season to win our league and get a couple rounds into the playoffs. And we returned pretty much that whole group, so I'm excited. We're still kind of young because, a couple juniors in the starting lineup, a sophomore in the starting lineup, but it's a group that wants to learn and wants to get better, that works hard. And I know you could attest to this. It's hard to coach effort. It's almost impossible to coach effort. And I don't really have to do that with this group, and they work hard. So I'm excited to kind of get through the first few days and tryouts. And but our group's talented this year. Now it's the little things for us that we have to do, the intangibles, the leadership, where our leadership is going to come from. The little things that are going to be determined if we're okay or are we going to be really good.
And so what are you going to focus on? Are you going to start putting all your stuff in right now? Are you just kind of taper it up, or because they're all coming back, should they have some sort of semblance of understanding of what the expectations are, what the offense and defenses are going to look like, or what's the plan?
Yeah, so our guys know most of the stuff from last year in the summer. We will put some new things in, but I'm big on throwing all of it out and then do the whole first and the parts later. So we'll put all of our stuff in, which they know most of it already, which is good, which is sometimes can be a challenge when you're taking a group and you're trying to do something, maybe a new system or something different, and you're starting day one and you have to put it all in. So our guys know most of what we're doing on offense and defense already. So it's almost like we can kind of hit the ground running a little bit, which is exciting.
Yeah, I think that's we have a young team this year. We only have one senior, and that is for a number of reasons. But that was like the COVID year, so kids that may have wanted to come with the uncertainty of whatever was going on for that year, and now they're seniors, but we didn't have a whole lot, and then a lot of kids stopped playing basketball and stuff like that altogether. So we have a very young team, and hopefully we're going to be kind of surprising, just like your team was last year, because we do have good players. We have good players that are young. We have two guards that are, one's a freshman and one's a sophomore, that are really, really good. So I'm excited to see how they go. We have some young bigs. They're all sophomores, all around about 6 feet tall. So that is good. 3 of them. And then our senior, she started pretty much every game last year. She's a senior leader and she's solid. So we'll see how some of the young players gel with some of the other players, but we have a lot of inexperience. And so, we're going to try to take it step by step to get their process right. It might not always be the outcome that they want, but as long as our process is correct, then we'll be okay. And so, that's kind of what we're going to focus on here early on. And you have to have some grace with them, because that they're going to mess up things, and that's okay. But I got young kids, and they mess up things all the time, and they're still okay. So you just have to have the patience with them. Talk about your league real quick. You guys have a sneaky good league, in my opinion. I think, the best teams in your league are always hard to play against, even against the schools in our league. And you guys do prepare yourself really well. Nick Ward comes to mind. But, talk about the league and just how good it is and underrated it is.
Yeah, I think our league is, year in and year out, the last few years has been one of the best public school leagues in CCS. I mean, Palo Alto, Los Gatos won our league last year. Palo Alto year in and year out is always at the top of the league and competing in CCS. And, last year it was Los Gatos, Palo Alto, and us. And I feel like this year those 3 teams are in there, but I think there's a lot of other teams that are in there too. Right? Milpitas is coming up from the lower league. Wilcox is coming up from the lower league. And they're both teams that returned most of their guys from their team last year. So it's top to bottom. I think it's even better than it was last year. It's a tough league, and it definitely prepares us for the playoffs. And I know, like, Los Gatos will do it. Palo Alto does it. We schedule at least 1 or 2 WCL schools too in the non-league too. Like, we play St. Francis this year, middle of December, which is a great kind of a measuring stick to see where we're at. But our league definitely prepares us for that. So by playing a private school or a WCL school in the non-league, that hopefully will get us ready for the league, because it's going to be a grind day in and day out.
Well, you guys have beaten St. Francis a couple times, if I'm not mistaken.
We were close,
okay.
Coach. We haven't done it yet. We've been close. We've had last couple of years. We've had 1 possession games with them, actually. So we're right there with them. But yeah, hopefully we can get over that hump here soon. So.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference when it comes to the public schools and our WCAL schools. It's the depth that most of the WCAL schools have, particularly on the guys' side. We see this with Midi, but even all 5 of their starters are great. But then you also have another 5 kids that come off the bench that could start for most teams in the league. And that's kind of where you see the drop off with the WCAL and some of the other schools, is just the depth. You might be able to compete for a while with your main guys, but then when you have to sub and things like that, it just kind of opens up. And basketball is you're a few runs away from, winning or losing. Like if you had four, if you had 4 runs that were 6-0 runs, well, you're going to lose by 24 points. Like that's just how it works. And it's, and you could be playing perfect and you're playing even. And then you just have a 6-0 run in the first, 6-0 run in the second, 6-0 run and you don't come back with your own runs, you lose by 24 points. That's the difference in these games. And one of the things that I've actually studied was, so I just went into it like preseason. I just kind of just go and I just watch every game. I watch every single game from the previous year. And then if I have time, I go the previous year before that and the previous year before that, usually while I'm working out. So it's either on the Peloton and it's kind of loosely watching it, but it's just always on. So now if you don't watch film as a coach, I'm just like Kobe used to do. If he woke up and he had his first workout at 2 a.m. from 2 to 4, and then he goes to sleep. And then he's got another workout from 8 to 10. And then, he takes a nap or whatever. And then he does another workout from 2 to 4. Like he's got 6 hours to your 2 hours, or his 6 hours to your 3 hours. So the only way to mitigate that is you can't do more work. So I just watch it all the time. So luckily we have a home gym, so I watch it there or on the Peloton. I just put my iPad in front of the screen instead of the instructor. But what I found is, so 11-point games, or basically 6 buckets. So how can we get 6 baskets better? And there is basically, we're 55 and 50 when it comes to 11-point games over the last 10 years. We're 55 and 50 in 11-point games. Now we're like 98 and 40 something when it's plus 11 points. In those games, you're probably going to win or lose anyway. Because if a team's 6 possessions better than you, you're probably not going to beat that team. Or if you're six possessions better than the team, like you're probably going to win that game regardless. But those are the games that we're trying to focus on. And so last year, people may consider it a down year, but we were like 12-2 outside of league. And we ended up 14 and 14 overall because our league is so tough. So, but we were 8 and 7 in those 11-point games. Well, if we would have won 4 of those, so if we would have won 4 of those 7 games that we lost, those 6 possession games basically, or 11-point games, would be 18 and 10, and that changes your whole season, or vice versa.
Huge. That's a huge difference.
Yeah. So that's kind of been my focus. Like, how can we be 6 buckets better or 11 points better? So that's kind of been my focus. And we have some things that we're trying to do with the new rule changes and stuff like that to really focus on getting those extra 6 buckets. How can we do that? Whether that be changing defenses, in between possessions to, we're in a matchup and then we go to a run and jump, in a half court, something like that, to just kind of switch things up. So 11 point games, but you should kind of look back and see how many games, what is your records in those 11-point games, and you'll be surprised, but it's almost like 50-50 in those 11-point games. And 2 years ago, we were 17-0 in games where it was 11 plus. We're 17-0. So and we had 8 losses, and then we were 4 and 8 in the 11-point games. Now we played Midi 3 times, so they were part of those 11-point games.
Sure.
But they were all close, and it was, it's a 6 possession game at the very least, and most of those games were like 2 possession games. So it's just interesting. But that's kind of my process in the preseason. What do I need to get better? Because I need to get better. How do I get better? I have to identify something that can help us get a little bit better, because I can't do the same stuff. So I said a long-winded thing to say, what do you do each year to try to get yourself better? Because I know you are always on a hunt for more knowledge and trying to get a little bit better so you can get your team over the hump.
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of similar to what you did. I went back and watched our games last year, all the games that were close because we lost. I mean, I got to look at the numbers, but we lost. Los Gatos was the second to last league game, and that was a game that if we had won, we would have been in first place and probably would have had a chance to either win league or been co-champion. And we lost by a possession, and we lost to Carmont in the playoffs by, I think the end of the final score was like 8 or 9 points, but we were up 8 or 9. We were up at 8 in the second quarter, and they made a run in the third quarter. So I went back and looked at the games that we had leads in, and then we ended up losing, or one of the close possession games, like the 2-3 possession losses that we had last year. I know in all those games we had the lead at some point. So I look back and go, where did we kind of maybe lose our way a little bit? Where did we make the mistakes that we made to give those teams those runs? That ultimately lost the game for us, won the game for them. And what could we do differently in those situations? That's what I looked at, is what can we do differently going forward that will prepare us for this season, that we can do better, and we can win those games that we lost.
Yeah,
So,
it's just amazing that. So
yeah.
CJ, my son, he played in a championship game this past weekend, and
Yeah.
their team is down 5 with 5 minutes to play, and the game ended in a 24-21 game. So there's not like a lot of points, but we're down 5 with 5 minutes to play, and I don't see a way that we're going to be able to like score that many points, because we're going to have to at least score 6 points, which is 3 baskets in there. There's been 20 baskets for the whole game, but we have to score 3 now, and that was with both teams.
Yeah.
And somehow they were able to do that, and we took a 5-point lead with a couple minutes to play. And like the difference so we ended up winning the championship in the CJ and his friends.
Nice.
But in the I'm watching the other side, and the parents and these kids are crying, and they're CJ's 5, but there's 6 and 7 and 8-year-olds playing, but the parents are trying to console the other team, and our team is just so excited. But that's just the game of basketball. It's just so crazy that one shot is worth so much in that. But I think there's a lot of things that you can learn from that. Is there any particular games that you remember? You just talked about the Los Gatos one that you lost by 1 possession. But is there anything that you think about?
Yeah, that game for sure. We took a lead. One of our younger guys hit a 3 with 50 seconds left to give us a lead. It was the first lead that we had in the second half. And then right away, we give up a transition layup off of a made shot back. So they went back up to a 1 or 2 or whatever. But at the end of the game, we had 2 open threes to win the game. And one of them, the second one, went in and out at the buzzer, right in front of our bench. And I look back, and that was something that just stuck with me, because that one shot, if it goes in, changes everything when it comes to seeding in the playoffs. We probably win league, or at least are a co-champion. Our seed is a top 4 seed possibly, and now we're getting a 2-round bye. We're not playing Carmont in the quarterfinals. Not saying that our opponent wouldn't have been tough. It probably would have been, but just everything would have changed on that one shot. And I would put that ball in our kid's hand to shoot that shot again. But just, the confidence that he had to take that shot was great, and I felt like he was prepared for that moment. But that just changed. I mean, that one shot changed so much, right? And it's only one shot when you think about it. So try to look back and go, it doesn't come down to that. There's other things that could have happened throughout the game, but that's a game that stuck with me. And then 2019, when we got to the quarterfinals of the state tournament, we ended up playing University of San Francisco up at Kezar.
And they won it, if I'm not mistaken.
They ended up going to the state championship game. Yeah. We lost to them in double overtime. We had in the first overtime, we drew up a play, out of bounds play. Our shooter had 32 that night. He was on fire, couldn't miss. And we drew a play up for him to get it open, to get a 3. We're going to win the game. We were down 2. We were like, we're going to go for the win. He was wide open. Our big guy decided not to pass him the ball. which was the number one option. And he took a shot, and we got a rebound and put it back in and made it to go to double overtime. But if I could go back, I would have wanted that guy to get that shot, because I think he would have made that shot and we would have won. So just like little things like that stick with me. Even though we've had some success, those things stick with me almost more than the good things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the St. Francis girls last year, they were in the quarterfinals playing Pioneer, actually. Pioneers up 1 with like 5 seconds to play. And Pioneer presses. St. Francis gets by the press and a buzzer beater shot. They end up making it, and Pioneer loses the game on 5 seconds. And so I can understand the agony, but on the same side, other side, like Sammy went on to the championship in the next game, and one of the something like that. Anyway, and they won. They won handily in the CCS championship.
Yep.
But they were about to lose. They were on the brink of losing, and so it just goes to show you. I mean, I think it was 2015. 2015, we're playing Bishop O'Dowd, and we're in the semifinals of NorCal, I believe, or quarters or semis, one of them. Anyway, but they had really, really good players. They had a guard going to Cal and another guard going to Kansas. And we did everything possible to slow them down. And the Kansas guard, she got in foul trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And we're tied with like under a minute to play. And, we traveled, they came down and made a basket, and then we had a chance to tie it or go up. And they beat us by 4 points. It was still to this day, but like my first several years, we had lost to the state champion multiple times. So we lost 70-73 to Sacred Heart Cathedral at the end of the season, and they ended up going to win state. Bishop O'Dowd ended up going on to win state. We lost a 7-point game to what's the school up in Chico? Pleasant Valley. Pleasant Valley. They end up going to the state championship in a NorCal final. So it's just those are the sliding door moments that you can't help but think about when, like, dang, what if you would have just, so yeah, just it's really, really tough when you have those moments as a coach.
Yeah, I think those moments actually kind of fuel the fire a little bit too, right? I mean, they fuel me to, okay, we get in that position again. Hopefully we have another opportunity to get there again. And, but just want to kind of strive to get back there. I think that's another thing for me is like, we've had some success at Mount View. It's been great. But I want to get back there and have another opportunity and have this group of guys have that experience. Cause you can attest to winning a CCS championship is an awesome feeling and a great goal, and winning League Two. And so like, I definitely want our group this year to experience that. And it's like, well, how do I, as a coach, put our guys in the best position to have that possible? And then sometimes it just kind of, whatever happens at that point. But definitely want to, fuel for the fire to get there again.
Yeah. And that brought up another thought in my head. So my son's team had lost to that same team by 3 points 2 weeks ago. And my son was crying, just like the other kids on the other team were crying.
Sure.
And I'm like, get up. And in my mind, I'm like, yes, I love this, because he's going to have to fight through some adversity. But I said, so we're in the car. I said, so do you want to feel like this anymore? He said, no, can't really talk and all that sort of stuff. And I said, well, you can, what are you going to do about it? He's like, I'm going to practice. And there's this kid that was good. And he's probably better than my son, but he was good. And he would just can get anywhere on the floor. It's a young kid, probably like 7 years old, but he was really good. Yeah. His number was number 10. I'm like, all right. So every day, I don't know if you see my Instagram, but we just went out there and we just practice every day. And we only do 10 minutes because I don't want to be that dad. Look, if you want to do more than that, fine. But all we do is 10 minutes. And so
Nice.
he worked. We had 2 weeks. He's like, when do we play him again? I said, well, you'll probably see him in the championship. We were still the number 1 seed. But our best player wasn't there for the game that we lost. I'm like, dude, you guys, your best player wasn't even there. And you guys still, like, it was a 3-point game. So don't worry about it. So he practiced every day. And so the elation that he had when he actually saw the hard work, and so exactly what you said, it feels you those letdowns, but that should also feel you in life too. Like those letdowns, it happens a lot. And not getting those varsity jobs, whether it be myself or you, fueled us to be where we're at now. So
exactly. I believe everything happens for a reason too, right? Everything for you, and then you get to Valley Christian, and what you've done there has been amazing. But everything happens for a reason, right? And you go through those the adversity and the different things that didn't go your way, and it works out the way it's supposed to, and it makes you a better person, better coach. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best coaches, like John Calipari, only has 1 national title. Like, but he's still a success. Mark Few has no national titles. Tara Vanderveer went 30 years in between her first titles, her first 2 titles, and then the last title that she got. She won a whole lot, but you have to have the best coaches. You're considered one of the best coaches if you got 1 in the NCAA, right? And even that's just how hard it is. It's just really hard to win in sports. It's really hard to win in life. Like, you might know some rich people, but how many wealthy people do you know?
Right. Exactly.
And that's just how difficult it is in all areas. But that's why I love basketball, because it gives you that perspective. Like, no, I'm going to work for every single thing I got. There's no shortcuts. And if somebody's just better, they're just better.
Exactly. Yep.
But you put everything you did, or you could. Like, if you had to play LeBron 1-on-1, well, we know how that's going to end up.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you tried your absolute best, it's like, hey man, he was just better. You got to tip your cap to it.
Yep. Exactly.
Talk about like the club basketball world. You used to coach club basketball, and your kids are being pulled in multiple different directions because you have good players. What's your role in that, and how do you kind of manage that those club basketball, I guess, not requirements, but schedules and stuff like that, because the kids might have to miss summer stuff and that sort of thing. So how do you guys deal with that?
Yeah. So the good thing is, a couple of my guys, they play in the same organization. And so those coaches I know somewhat, and we communicate pretty well on schedules and stuff. And I think club basketball is huge. I mean, the fact that our guys are playing is the big thing. If they're missing a weight training session for me, or they're missing an open gym in the spring or something, and because they have a tournament, I think it's great. I think the opportunities for them, club basketball opens so many doors for basketball players when it comes to college, and the opportunity for college coaches to see the athletes and playing year round. I mean, it's basically become a year round sport, right? So I think the community, if you have communication with the club coaches at the same time, so what we were trying to do, ultimately we're trying to get the same thing out of our guys. We want to get the ultimate, get the best out of them and have the best experience for them. So I definitely communicate with those guys and make sure that we're on the same page for the betterment of our players.
And what do you guys do when it comes to parents? How do you guys communicate with them? I think all coaches, we have different sort of issues and things like that. But how do you guys approach any type of parent issues that you may have in the program?
So my big thing, I tell our player, we have a parent meeting in a couple of weeks here, but I'll tell the parents that their kids should know where they stand. I mean, we meet with each kid, have an individual meeting with each kid after the first week or so, a couple of weeks into practice. And so the parents should go to their kid first. I say, I will never talk to a parent about playing time unless the communication between the parent and the player is if the kid isn't conveying to their parents where they stand. And then, if we need to have a meeting, we will. But the big thing is that the parents should be able to communicate with their kid on that issue. And I think I haven't had too many issues, but we've all dealt with parent issues. And so my thing is, I have no problem, meeting with a parent, but when it comes to playing time, their kids should know where they stand.
Right. And so but some of the times the parents may say that they have something else, but then it
Sure.
always comes back around to the playing time
Sure.
issue. So if that were to happen, or if it has happened, how have you handled it?
I will, I definitely make sure that I get our athletic director involved if needed, and we'll sit down and have a meeting, and we'll lay it out there. And I don't dodge communication with parents. I will always be upfront and honest, and sometimes brutally honest if you have to be. But I will definitely, I will have conversations with parents if we need to. But I definitely get our athletic director involved, have my coaching staff there as well.
Right. And there's only so much time that you have available,
Sure.
and you got 160 minutes in a basketball game when if you got only 5 players. And so if
Right.
you're trying to divvy all of that up, well, the top players are probably going to be playing 30 minutes. So that's
Right.
60 minutes. Now I only have 100 minutes left for everybody else. And then your third and fourth best players might be playing 25 minutes. Okay. So now we're taking another 50 minutes off of that. And so it goes down, especially as
Right.
you get to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and if you can get to 12, but that's hard.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just difficult to get everybody what they want. But at the end of the day, if you have an open heart and an open mind, understanding that there's a lot of value, even if you do not play,
Exactly.
or keep working, because and I know there's going to be somebody sick. There's going to be somebody that twists an ankle. There's going to be somebody out for whatever reason. So when your opportunity arises, will you be ready for that opportunity when it gets there? And the people that are prepared and they stay prepared, they're ready for it. And you've seen this a lot in sports, whether that be the best quarterback ever. He was ready for his opportunity. And when Drew Bledsoe got hurt, Tom Brady was able to step into the situation because he had prepared himself accordingly. Or like Missoula from the Boston Celtics, he had no clue that their coach was going to get let go or on administrative leave last year. And it may have been a tough situation, but even this early on in this year, I see him with so much more confidence, just even walking on the sidelines. When I watched the Celtics play the other night, he had a lot of confidence. You could just tell the way he walked. But he got thrown into this storm, but he was still prepared. But now that 1 year of like getting it under your belt just made it so much easier for him this year. Like he's going to be phenomenal, I'm pretty sure. So yeah,
Agreed.
just always staying ready. Last year, what we did was we just met with everybody and their parents, and basically we told them what we really valued about each one of those kids. And your kid's shows up every single day, works really hard. And so if I am a parent, but if I'm a parent listening to this, I'm like, okay, great, because I don't get to see that part of coach or the staff really praise my kid, because they're in the middle of it. Like, hey, we're get here, or they're not working hard enough or whatever. We literally told each one of them their best qualities before we talked about some of the things that they need to improve in order for them to either get more playing time, or if it was our point guard, which barely came out of the game. We just kind of let them know what we expected as far as what leadership looks like and that sort of thing. So it changes every year. That was the first time we did that, but we did it right after the preseason schedule leading into league. And so we did this in December. Now it took 15, 20 minutes for each one of these, but it was a game changer because we didn't have any parent issues the whole year when it came to playing time, because everybody knew where they stood. And we gave them a voice to actually speak to us. Because sometimes I've been that way in the past where I'm like, nope, we're not talking. We'll talk to your kids. but everybody has a voice on social media. It seems like everybody wants to voice their opinion. Well, if you want to voice your opinion, voice it face to face with me and our staff, and we can be open-minded to hearing what you have to say.
Yeah, I like that. I actually like that. I might have to implement that with my program. I actually really like the thought process in that, and sitting down and having that communication with not just the player, but the parents as well.
Yeah. And I think that it just brings you closer to the parents. And if we're calling ourselves a family and stuff like that, well, we need to be interactive with them. And, quite frankly, in my early years, never would have even did that. But one of my, we're just thinking as a staff, like, what can we, all right, well, let's just have this conversation with everybody. And I've noticed when we have those tough conversations, you learn stuff because you want to be a listener as well. Okay. What's coming out of their mouth? Like one of the parents, I was sitting in on another conversation with our JV coach, and I just listened. And one of the parents says, "I want you to know my daughter," and I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of difficult because I'm coaching the varsity team, but I'm also coaching, or I also have my own family and stuff like that. But how can I integrate the JV team a little bit more? And I didn't get defensive or anything like that, but it's something I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that makes a little sense to me. So in our coaches meeting, I said, okay, well, we're gonna integrate a lot more. So I get to know these kids and they get to know us, our varsity staff, because I am focused mostly on the varsity, but do these kids get the same care, or do they feel the same thing that these varsity kids get? And if they get to feel me or staff for a week, one day a week, then great. That's better than maybe what we did in the past. So yeah, I'm just open to those sort of things now.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. So you're also coaching football too. So how do you manage both of those two things, especially as you're going to be coaching both of those things for maybe, 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah. The good thing about football is I'm just an assistant. So I just show up, coach my position, coach what I got to do, and then I can get out of there. So it will be it's a challenge. It's been like that for a few years now. So I will normally, for us basketball, we practice right after school every day, but we'll go a little bit later, right after football's over with. But it's a little bit of a challenge. I'll have to leave football a little early, a few days, because my priority is basketball for sure. That's my background, and that's what I do. So it's fun. It's a fun transition from one sport to the other. It is a lot when you're doing both, but I make it work.
And how do you make your main relationship with your wife work when you're being pulled in so many different directions?
Well, the lucky thing is I have a very, very understanding wife who's my 100% my number one fan, she integrates herself into my program. She has built relationships with our parents, our community, and my players. So yeah, she's amazing when it comes to that. And she gives me the ability to coach, and she supports me 100%.
The wives are definitely the real MVP.
Yes.
We started practicing every other day in the morning. So we go 6:45 to 8:45 in the morning. So that gets me home. That gets me home right after school, which is great. It gets the kids home. Then the other days we usually practice right after school, which is 3 to 5. So that has been a game changer. We've been doing that probably the last 8 years. Actually, yeah, this is 9 years now.
Nice.
They don't always care for waking up so early, but it actually has been very beneficial, in my opinion, to just the long, like being able to do this for much longer. So that helps. And then the boys switch, so they'll practice in the mornings every other day too, and it just gets us home, and it's a lot more time to do other things, because basketball is a high priority in our lives, obviously, but it's not the only priority, especially when you have kids and a wife and all that sort of stuff. So
yep, exactly.
Is there anything that you have to plug? Anything that you want to plug, or social media, or anything to follow your program?
I mean, we have Sports U page, MV Spartans, that we use. We use Mountain View Athletics Twitter is something that we post on there. We have an Instagram page too, MV Basketball Selfies page that our players have put together in the past. They post a lot of post-game team pics and stuff, so that's pretty cool if you guys go check that out. We usually post some team things on there. We're going down to San Diego this December for a tournament, so there'll probably be some stuff on there from our tournament, the guys hanging out, and yeah.
That's good. Final question I have for you: if there's somebody that should be on this show, who should it be? And before you give me your answer, you have to make the connection.
So I would say the person I think should be on and make the connection as in how.
So if you know the person, so
Sure.
if you say like LeBron James should be on the show, or you have to connect me, you have to connect me with LeBron James.
Got it. I got you. Okay. The first person that comes to mind, he's a close friend of mine, and he's a colleague, Nick Ward from Los Gatos. I think he would be a great guy to have on. We coached with each other at Los Gatos, and now we coach against each other. I think he would be a great guy to have on here because of the teams he's had there. He's got a family. At the same time, he left basketball because he started a family, and now he's back in it. So I think he could give good perspective on both sides of that.
For sure. Well, I do know Nick. Our kids played against each other in flag football.
Nice.
But yeah, I've known Nick for a while now, since he started over at Los Gatos. But he is a good dude, one of those underrated coaches that puts a lot of time and care into the program. So yeah, well, this conference hour flew by.
Yeah, it did.
And we can do this for forever. I love talking basketball and life and all that. But yeah, great job, man. I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck this season, and stay on after the outro because I have to play a little music, but I'll end the recording after that. So,
all right, Coach. Thanks for having me. Good luck this year too with your program. Excited to get going here tomorrow.
All right, let's go.
Thank you for listening to the Beyond the Buckets podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with your friends. And until next time, take care.